production quality that I need for these. You know, I'm just starting to learn all this stuff, and it's proving pretty hard, but I'm getting it as I go. But I forget where I was going on the technocracy of about the book burnings and the further implementation of ourselves into a digital virtual world, into a virtual simulacrum, into a simulated matrix, if you will, literally plugging ourselves into the matrix. And with the implementation of all this future technology, the VR technology, people walking walking around in public with the VR, that with literally their cell phones strapped to right in front of their brain, which the EMF radiation from the cell phone itself, if you hold it anywhere within, a 5-foot radius of your bioelectric field, interferes with your entire cellular structure, your entire genetic memory, and it will completely mutate your cells, which will cause cancer, cause tumors, and at the very least, it causes sensory nervous dissonance or chaotic interference, destructive interference, as opposed to coherence, as opposed to sympathetic resonance or sympathetic vibratory, phase conjugation, so to speak, to use electrical terms. But, as opposed to the harmonic resonance, but what produces, basically perpendicular, clashing, chaotic waves, which that's what creates the mutations of the cells, is, the electrical structure of the cells begin to become acidic. The electromagnetic radiation, the electrosmog is acidic in nature. It's the entropic side of physics of nature. So it is destructive. And but people walking around with their cell phones, strapped to their face, right in front of their vision. That's why the Nintendo's, new virtual reality system is called Oculus Rift. I've been thinking maybe I will, just do a short sort of half-ass. I'm going to start, I need to drop my sense of perfectionism, to start getting a lot of this stuff, these vital ideas, these important ideas out there, just so that they're out there and they're circulating, rather than me just sitting on them and waiting for it. It all has to be perfect, and, it has to be completely rock solid, no disinformation, no misinformation, no sensationalism, not just repeating something that I hear. And, that's why I spend months and months, literally months on end, doing just a single video or film presentation. It takes so long. Not just in the editing and the post-production, but in the actual, it all goes into the research to make sure what I'm speaking, what I'm presenting is all based upon some sort of cited source, some sort of cited reference that can be looked up, that can be cross-referenced, to where it can be verified and validated or invalidated or falsified. It's falsifiable information, which means it can be proven true or inaccurate. So that's what it's all about. But the technological aspects of the Oculus Rift. The Rift, as we covered in Symbols of Power Part 3, which nobody watched. I don't know why that one didn't go anywhere. Well, I know why, because YouTube censored it. Number one, they put it slapped an age restriction on it, because I mentioned the etymology of the C-U-N-T word, which context doesn't matter on YouTube. It only matters about keywords and key triggers. You can say certain keywords and key triggers, and it just automatically is demonetized, automatically censored. You know what I realized is on the last live stream that I did was that it was demonetized before it was even had gone live, before it was even published. And the reason why is because it's already tracking my facial recognition. It literally had no audio. It had no tags, no metadata. It had no keywords, no key phrases. It had no thumbnail image. It had none of these things that would be flagged for censorship, for algorithm change, for demonetization, for any type of, lower ranking of YouTube's algorithms, and yet it was. And the reason why is because my face was on it. So I'm SOL. I am basically, doomed to try and, spend all my time, to do this as a career, to do full-time productions, full-time presentations, and all of that. That's why I need you guys. I do need your support. I don't want to beg or anything, but that's why I need your support, because YouTube is not cutting it, and I haven't yet built a website. I haven't built a foundation to be able to just have, everything that I do basically support me just by the very act of doing it. So haven't yet done that yet. So that's why I need you guys, to help me out in the meantime until I get to that point. Let alone expanding. I'm trying to expand into so many other areas that will allow Lifting the Veil to become so much more influential. Number one, I'm speaking to a lot of my good friends, my friend Jason Verbelli, my friend Jeremy Reese, alien scientist on YouTube. He's got a great YouTube channel. If you're into aliens and the conspiracies and the geopolitics and all of that stuff, but actually the actual science, real stuff, real substance, real stuff. He's a great. And so I'm gonna have him onto these live streams. We're gonna do a show with just with me and him and Jason Verbelli. That's Jeremy. If you're up for doing this, we need to get together. Like you were saying, he wants to build a media. He wants to build his own network, and I'm on the same page. We're on the same. So we're gonna be working together. We're going to be building our own media network, not something like Gaia TV, but actual real stuff, real science, real credibility, real spirituality, real symbolism, I'm talking the real substance, not sensationalism, not stuff talking about whistleblowers and, hearsay and speculation and none of that. Again, I don't want to try to alienate any of my audience. I love you guys. Trust me, the reason I say this is because I was so far into all of that stuff that I didn't realize how naive I was at the time. And it's not that I was just naive, it's just that I was somewhat, it's not ignorance, it's nescience. It's nescience, neshir, which means without knowledge. It just means, although it's a rung on the ladder of progression of growth, so it is necessary, it is essential. The reason I got into all of this stuff and the reason for my awakening was because of the Ancient Aliens series. So that's a good thing. But we have to advance. We have to. As Richard, I like how Richard Dolan, and I covered this in the live stream last week as well that got cut out, was Richard Dolan, covered a lot of this also, is that, we need to basically set aside at least we need to compartmentalize, we need to partition the unfalsifiable from the falsifiable. In other words, the actual substance, the stuff that we can cite, we can put, it has substance to it, not substance by meaning physicality, but meaning that it's true. This is something that I hold so dear, is that if something is true, it can be proven as such. And that doesn't mean that it has to be proven physically. It means it can be proven in some way, shape, or form, whether it is just through some type of subtle technology, we can develop technologies that can measure subtleties, subtle energies that the human physiology is not capable of perceiving. That's just easy, blatant, obvious facts. But if something is true, it can be proven. If God exists, God can be proven. And that's why we know God exists. If any of you guys are atheists or anything out there, I respect your perspective, although you need to elevate yourself. You need to elevate yourself to a higher level of understanding, a higher level of knowledge, a higher level of observing nature itself. Nature is intelligent. There is an intelligent design behind nature. There is it's whether, whatever we want to call God, the names, the epithets, the resonances, all irrelevant. Doesn't matter if you call it Om, Yahweh, Yahuwah, Yahudi, Yah, Yehovah, none of Yeshua, Yahuwah, Yeshua, Yehovah, Yahweh, Yah, Yahoo, which is literally the ancient, Semitic these are all ancient Semitic roots, and that's, I go much deeper into the full secrets of religions, presentation, which is an article format. I haven't done a video on that. It would be staggering. But regardless of all of that stuff, whatever we want to think of God as it's provable. You can prove an organizing principle of the universe, whether it's through geometry, what we want to call sacred geometry. Whether you call it sacred or not, you just call it creative principles, organizing principles of nature. Matters not. It exists. It is there. It is intrinsic. It is inherent. It is the very foundation of creation. The sacred geometry is what creates life. We'll be covering a lot of this in the Symbols of Power Part 4 film that's coming up. It's about halfway finished, just to give you guys a heads up. That's another thing. Side note is I wanted to show you guys, give you a brief. I don't know if I'll do that in this stream. If you want to or not, let me know. But I wanted to give you guys basically a quick, screen share summary of some of the films that I've got in production. The Chester Bennington and Christ Cornell presentation that I've got 75% of the way finished back in July of last year, after Chris Cornell's death. That I never ended up getting around to finishing, because by the time I was, that happened in July. And I was getting close to finishing that video, and then something else happened along, I think it was several months later. That's when the Las Vegas event happened, and boom, so that came along, that turned into a huge, and of course it all ties together. What possibly could the Chester Bennington, the Chris Cornell deaths have anything to do with the Las Vegas event? Well, the answer is everything. Absolutely. Here, let me try and mess with my light settings here. Sorry, I don't have a light set up, so my settings are kind of screwed up. But it has absolutely everything to do with the Las Vegas event. I don't even know if I'm allowed to say Las Vegas. I shouldn't even be saying Las Vegas in this stream. It's going to ruin the entire stream. But, yeah, so that's an idea I was thinking about, I wanted to show you guys, was just going through some of the presentations that I've got in production currently. So I don't know if I will spend the time on doing that or not. Let's see what you guys think. Yeah, Conscious Vegan. Good to see you here again. And Exotic Matter, John, Sharda, all you guys as well. It's good to have you guys here. And again, side note, I want to thank all you guys so much for being a part of the channel, for being a part of Lifting the Veil. For also, side note, side plug, I did just publish a new video. It's by the channel Killing Thorns. He was formerly I Warn You Before I Ate You. It's probably the best video that he's done. Pretty much one of the only real shareable ones that I found, because he's very far out there. He goes hardcore into the basically railing on Judaism. He does it so hard that, and it's credible. I mean, it has basis, it has merit, but he does it in such an abrasive way that it's just not shareable. I mean, because if you do, you will get banned. And if this was China, you will get your social credits absolutely, you'll basically go to jail for talking about such stuff. So we do need to talk about that kind of stuff. But side note, so I just published that video, The Vedic Origins of Civilization. And side note that I wanted to mention, that whenever I publish something, whether it's on a full Patreon article or a full film or a video, whatever, I need you guys' help. I need your support to share it ASAP, as soon as it comes out, to share it basically from my source links, either whether it's from the Lifting the Veil page or from my YouTube channel or from my Patreon page. Either one of those, it matters not, but to share it from one of those source links. Although you might not even, it's probably better to not share it from the source links, because Facebook, I'm pretty sure, is tracking the metadata for all of my websites, whether it's my channel, whether it's my Facebook page, whether it's my Patreon page, or soon to be, whether it will be my website. All of these metadata are being tracked through Google, because it's all linked to Google's accounts, and so all of that will be censored no matter what. And that's why I've been so pissed off for the past year. And I haven't, especially on social media, hasn't translated much through my channel, but I've been so frustrated because of the fact that I used to put things out that weren't very well researched. It wasn't very well presented. Honestly, it was very poor production quality. I didn't really know what I was talking about. I was naive, I was nescient. I wasn't on the level that I'm on now, and yet it went absolutely viral. That's the only reason I'm here doing this with you guys today, is because I've had such fortunate success, a couple years ago doing all that stuff. But, I'm so glad that I started doing all that back then, because if I was trying to do this stuff just starting it now, you guys wouldn't even know about any of this stuff, about any of the content that I'm talking about or that I'm presenting, because it simply wouldn't be seen. It would not get out there. So that's why I'm so thankful that, back then, about 5 years ago, was that things could just, there was basically no limits. It could go and go and go and go. And, you could share whatever you wanted, and it would expand, and it would, snowball. It would start, gain momentum, it would gain traction. And it really gave me a sense of hope. It gave me a sense of purpose in the fact that I could see in real time, that the world really was waking up. It didn't matter what type of, how harsh you came across, or whether it was offensive or anything like that, as little as 5 years ago. There was no... We didn't know what social justice warriors were back then. And, we didn't know any of these terms like, political correctness wasn't a huge... None of these things were huge, issues back then. But now it really is. Unfortunately, largely in part due to the whole... What I like to joke about is, the conspiratard crowd. What I call conspirafried. Basically, what some people call it auto hoaxing. It's basically just immediately jumping to the conclusion about anything and everything. It's always a conspiracy. It's always a hoax. It's always, a lot of that stuff, the incredulity, or the credulity, or the unfalsifiability, the sensationalism of it has created. We've created this. We've created the legitimate need for sources like Facebook and government and stuff to have to crack down on our information sharing, is because so much of it is fake news. So much of it is legitimate, literal fake news. A lot of it from sites like Neon Nettle or whatever. Things like that. Absolute garbage. Although the topics might actually have some truth behind them, there is no source. There's no cited references. There's no citations. You guys need to understand that especially when it comes to health, nutrition, especially when it comes to things like paleo diets and low carb dieting and all of that stuff, there is no credibility in most of these online blogs and most of these books, these best-selling authors. All of this stuff is usually just no science, junk science, industry-funded science, all of these things. It's so often, it's so poorly referenced, so poorly cited, that it's usually just holes all throughout it. And it's because of stuff like that that has created a legitimate need, unfortunately, to have to censor our information sharing. Although the truth is that nobody should be censored for sharing information. Information should be available readily. It takes discernment. For example, this is what the Illuminati, what the Cabal actually, how their main tenet is he who will be deceived, let him be deceived. It goes back and ties back into a future presentation that I'm going to be, again, about the honey traps, the honey pots, this speaking in soft tones and in loving spiritual whispers and in beautiful voices that sound so good, and they resonate with the heart, and they make us feel so good inside, and we love it, and it makes us just feels so good. But it's complete, absolute garbage in order to get your money, in order to sell things to you, to sell you a product, a program, a book, whatever, a service. Garbage, most of it. Not everything, don't get me wrong, I'm not making blanket statements, but as opposed to the harsh, doesn't matter how you present your information, it matters the substance of your information. That's what determines the truth, not what resonates with you or what doesn't resonate. What doesn't resonate with you is called cognitive dissonance, folks. Period. End of story. What doesn't resonate with you or what gives you bad vibes is just you. That's you. You are the problem. Not the information, not the person presenting it, it's you. It's not their bad vibes, it's not their bad, don't get me wrong, unless if they're legitimately infringing on someone's free will choice or doing deliberate harm, if there's ill intent behind that, that's a different story. But if it's just, if they have good intentions and they're not trying to, deliberately hurt somebody or hurt their feelings or, any of these things, feelings are subjective. Feelings are not a way to determine truth. And we will be going deep into this in future presentations. Let me bring it up real quick so I can give you a brief skimming of what it is. Masters of the Universe, I believe, is the future present. It's going to be part of the Symbols of Power series. Masters of the Universe peering into the abyss. Let's see. Screen share. But yeah. So this one is still unpublished. I haven't published this yet because it's unfinished. I've got the back end still to go through and finish, but this is a huge one, folks. This ties in so many of my other full films and presentations, ties in the Symbols of Power series, takes it to a whole other level, gets deep into the Hollywood mind control programming, deep into MK Ultra, deep into the spiritual new age deceptions of mind control, of speaking soft, sweet, sensational, soft, loving tones, and in order to manipulate your emotions, to harvest your energy so that they can sell you useless products, useless services. I also have another presentation that's a smaller offshoot that is included in this larger one that's just about the linguistic aspects of it, about the speech, about basal tongue, or parcel tongue, or I call basal tongue as basilisk, the speaking with the forked tongue, with the tongue of worm tongue of Tolkien, and I'm going much deeper into the actual mytho-symbology of Tolkien's works, the deep esoterica, the rich symbolism that we all love Tolkien for, because he is such a linguistic master. That is why Tolkien is such a genius, is because he was a professor in Old Norse linguistics, and he was an esoteric master. I wish that guy was, I wish he was still around today, because we need, maybe his resonance is coming. I would hope that his influence and his resonance would be speaking through my work or through me and other works and other researchers like me, like Michael Tazarian and other great researchers, Mark Passio and Thomas Sheridan as well, does a lot of great speaking about the mythology and all of that stuff. But yeah, I was going off about the speaking of in soft tones in order to that's Saruman. That's what Saruman is. It's speaking of the Saurian tongue. It's speaking of the tones of the moon, of the influence of the mind, the mind control of your emotional. Okay. So let me get into this. So cut back to. I should be able to do this without the. There we go. The mind control of emotional mind control, the physiological, the psychosomatic mind control, the control of your feelings through the influence of your mind. Your mind is extended to the electromagnetic sea of energy around us. And by manipulating that electromagnetic sea, the electrosmog, the 5G grid networks, all of these other technologies that are being introduced in order to basically to sever, not just to sever, but to interfere with our electrical connection to the source of the universe itself, to the divine source of the whatever the creative principle is. Whatever that is, whatever that would be, is that the electrical principle can be easily manipulated through external means, through whether it's through monitors, electronic screens, whether it's through Oculus Rift technology. In other words, the Rift creating a schism of the vision of the. Let's scroll down here, show you again. If you have seen the Symbols of Power Part 1 series, the Monarch Mind Control, this monarch symbolism, you understand. I'm going to go deeper into this in future presentations as well. I did this in my most recent presentation about Trump, also with the same symbolism of the monarch mind control, the Oculus Rift, the vision, the visual cortex, which passes all sensory information. As you guys know from Symbols of Power Part 1 film, is that all information passes through the visual cortex so it passes through the monarch, it passes through the butterfly, it passes through this is the butterfly effect. This is the wisdom of the sacred owl, of the Moloch, of the what else is the owl? The owl is the symbol of wisdom in infinite number of ways. I'm not going to get into it off the top of my head because it's just too deep. It's too deep. We've gone through that in the Symbols of Power series. I don't need to rehash that, but so that's what it's all about, is influencing the mind through the sensory perception, through our sensory impulses, our sensory input. And so through the speech, the soft, loving tones that sound so good, and it feels so good upon hearing it. And it can be useful in a sense of, yes, a lot of us are so disturbed that we need to be consoled, we need to be comforted in order to have any type of sanity, any type of clarity. So without that, of course, we can't elevate ourselves to seeking any type of actual real information. So it's a stepping stone, of course, as all things are. It's an energetic stepping stone. I wish I had the split screen so I could pull this up on, have it scrolled on split screen while I am doing the whatever. But yeah, so hopefully I'll have that figured out by next stream, as to where I'll have, I can show you my presentations as, we're going through with the chat on screen as well. But so yeah, the emotional manipulation, the energetic manipulation of your emotions. The human emotions are the easiest thing in the world to control and to influence. It's so easy that it's absolutely astounding. It's staggering. I mean, it's shocking. It should be off-putting. It should be very disturbing. Not like in a scary sense, but it should upset you. It should concern you about how easily human perception and emotions can be controlled. And the emotions are the easiest way to do that. If you want to control someone, that's why. And let me tell you this, anyone who understands psychology and sociology and all of these things understands that the most dangerous people in the world, the sociopaths, the narcissists, the psychopaths, they are masters. They are the masters. They are the dark occultists. They are the masters of manipulation. They're the masters of mind manipulation. They are the masters of your emotions. They know your subconscious psychology better than you do. Why? Because they have studied this, they have mastered it, they have perfected it for thousands of years, for eons, for ages, far beyond modern civilization and far beyond even advanced ancient civilizations, to the very origins, possibly even of creation of the universe itself. The understanding of how to hijack and manipulate, energetic influence in order to basically to control others for your own ends. The way to do that, these people are masters of speaking They are masters of neuro-linguistic programming. That is why I do everything that I do. That's why I do the spelling, the deprogramming, the occult symbolism, the esoteric etymology, the anatomy. Everything that I do is, I do what the dark occultists do. I do it for light occultism. I do it for, as Mark Passio says, coins de-occultism. It's about taking the dark stuff and bringing it to light and shining the light of perception upon it. That way, through the prism of our triangular vision, it sparks that beam of light that sets that thing on fire and burns it into the fire of pyrification, of the purification from fire into air, from the element of air into spirit, from the 5 physical elements, from earth,